Soul Chat. Um, with the holidays obviously coming up, I thought it might be a good idea to touch on some family stuff. Um, and we've got family and COVID again, so that may even magnify things some, depending on where you're having to travel to. But anyhow, I wanted to talk about how, all of our different families obviously are not the same and they're on a spectrum. So, just to have a way to think when you're going home for the holidays, I wanted to talk about a few things. And one of them is that it's very normal for you to have a longing for family. You're, that's how you're created. Your soul longs to be connected to other souls when you're little and as you grow up. And so don't shame your longing for wanting something that you can't have. It's not because of you, it's your family. They're the ones that can't do it. If you're trying and you've had conversations and those kinds of things, then you have done all you can do. And we hate to face that because if I face that, that means I have to accept I don't really have much family. And who wants to do that? So, and then we want things to be, like I said, especially with COVID, as pleasant and joyful and happy and everything. And so the holidays feel like they create an atmosphere like, oh, wow, we could probably at least do it for this amount of time, right? Not necessarily. So you have to keep that in mind going into it. Your longing's not, there's nothing wrong with you longing for it. It's if you get shamed or you get sarcasm comments made towards you, those sometimes come out of the blue. So don't, that's what I'm saying, don't shame yourself. Like you could be just even off guard, because you're just used to being yourself. And so when someone starts being friendly towards you, you maybe have hopes that, oh, well, it looks like maybe they will be able to have a little bit more of a conversation than I thought because of how things are going. But that's kind of like the trap we fall into because they can't sustain it. And so as soon as you start being really happy or full of joy or just enjoying yourself or being kind to them, it will be out of the blue that a comment will come and drive a dagger into your heart. And again, it's on a spectrum depending on how your family is, maybe the depth of that dagger. So just remember that. Just, be cautious. There's nothing obviously wrong with going home. I remember Ram Dass used to always say, if you want to think you're spiritual, go spend some time with family. And there is a lot of truth to that. It resonates with a lot of people. So just realize that when you're sitting around and you're visiting and talking, have some backups for yourself. Like if things start getting intense, just feel like you need to go get some air or even just go to the bathroom or bring a book to read. Just something so that you have a backup. And, if you need to have it be a therapist and you have that ability to do that, then go ahead and do that. Have a close friend on backup, someone that you can call just to say, okay, need some sanity here. And, and then you'll be able to move on. But do not allow the way that they emote or lack of emote cause you to not be who you really are. Like, yes, you may have to go more silent. You may have to be more quiet. You may have to not, you can't share your heart like you want to. That's the sad part. You have to live with that sadness. They don't want to know. And when they act like they want to know, it's just to be used against you later. So that's the hard part, keeping that in mind, because you're going to see family, and family is supposed to be what's the closest people to us. So it feels odd to have to protect yourself around family. But I still think it's if you feel like you can go, I think you need to go. And then, just keeping these things in mind and giving yourself, some ways out, I think it would be okay. Because you can also just flat out always have the option of leaving. If things ever got that horrific or that bad, you could just go. You could go stay in a hotel. Whatever it is you have to do to take care of yourself, that's what's really important. And I know you want to kind of, especially if you have kids around, you want to keep things kind of calm and, not flaring up. But I think the main trigger is we just have a deep, deep desire to connect with our family. And so do not shame yourself for that. But you also have to face the fact that they may be unconnectable with, unless you're willing to call connecting with them in an abusive or harmful way connection. But no, you don't want to do that. So I just wanted you to have these things in mind, have some kind of backup plans. Whatever expectations you go into the holidays with them, try to make sure to yourself, is that a real expectation for me to have on them? Is that something that realistically could happen? Or am I setting myself up? Think things through like that and see what you come up with. And then other than that, I would just say, just remember that, it's their kindness is what elicits that longing in you. So it makes you feel like it can happen. And so when that gets triggered in you, elicited in you, you want to respond because that's your normal heart. And so out of your own kindness, you still are willing to try again and again and again. And guess what? They may be so empty. They may be so not have a self that you could never fill them up. If you made it your 24/7 job, you could not fill them up. You could not make them happy. You could not make them happy with you. You couldn't make them happy. And so these are some of the things that we just have to deal with going into the holidays. And so one of the things I really like a lot is in the AA, I think it's the Al-Anon one, where it talks about the 3 C's. And I would apply it to this too. You didn't cause it, you can't control it, so you can't cure it. It's who they're choosing to be. And they had the same options to face their trauma if they were raised in a trauma environment, and work on themselves that you had on yourself. So it's an even playing field. They just have chosen to remain who they are, no matter what the consequences are. And so we have to allow them their choice. And then we have to allow ourselves, because they're never going to allow it, we have to allow ourselves our choice, and that is to not participate. You couldn't help it as a little kid. You had no control then, for sure. You were fully dependent. But now you do have a choice. Some of the things that we just talked about. So keep that in mind. Remember that. And I just really, really, really hope that you're able to enjoy your holidays and have a good time, because you know who you are. You know your heart. You know your soul. And that's what matters. You know who you are. God sees you. God knows who you really are. So you got this, okay? I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.